Today I'd like to do a video about certain aspects of canister stoves versus alcohol stoves. I'd like to show you kind of an evolution of what I've looked at over the years. The first stove that I used was this contraption that created a nice little alcohol stove that used a canister or a tube, something like this, for my alcohol or fuel. But it is heavy. You can see how this setup with the burning stove creates a nice setting, but just really old technology and hard to assemble, and then not very compact for the backpacking. From there, I moved to a couple of different types of stoves, one of which is, I guess, the predecessor to the pocket rocket. I can say that this particular stove I used for many years and still sometimes use. It is older technology, but simply used on any of your type of isopro canisters. You simply slide it on and then tighten it down. And this MSR, this old MSR, I guess the precursor to the pocket rocket, has a nice stove setting, very balanced, and it even has the starter there to get the isopro moving through the canister. As you know, the isopros are not very good once you get close to freezing. Typically, you have to carry these canisters and put them in your sleeping bag overnight if you want them to stay warm in the morning to use because once they get down to freezing or even close to freezing, they're not going to serve you well to cook. After that particular stove, I want to say there was a couple of different ones that I used, but here's another great stove that was used. It's another MSR. It has these sliding mechanisms that go up and turn, and you simply lock them in place. The valve comes here, and again, just like the others, you take the larger canister or the smaller canister isopro, you just simply turn it on like this and open the valve. The isopro runs through, and you simply have the pocket rocket run through like that. It's a great stove, and I've used it very well. A lot more compact when you move down from something large like this over the years to something smaller like that. Now, in recent years, I have moved to one of these cheaper BSR stoves, or BRS stoves, I'm sorry, that is so compact, so small, and so lightweight, wonderful to use. And here's what they look like. And I'm sure there's many reviews out there on these little things, but they work great. So the sliding mechanism is not quite as stable as the other stoves, but it has yet to fail me. It works the same way as any of the others. I've used the BSR because it's just so small, and it all fits nicely in. What I've been using is the Toaks titanium 550 milliliter. This container, for me, works so well because it's so compatible with the Mountain House mills. If you get the Pro Pack, which is a little bit lighter than the normal Mountain House because it's been vacuum sealed and it's a lot smaller and not quite as many servings. I say these are usually 2 servings, whereas the normal Mountain House are 2.5 servings, but usually just enough for me. But the water in the 550 milliliter for me works perfectly almost to the top to place in one of these Pro Packs. Maybe a little bit less than this one, in the two serving pack than the 2.5 serving pack. But for me, using the BSR stove coupled with the Toaks titanium 550 milliliter, the one thing that I've looked at over the years is whether I should move to a alcohol stove instead of the isopro stove. The isopro stoves have been great for me, but there's been a couple of times where I've been in hiking situations where you get below freezing, and so I've looked at going into an alcohol stove. And I was going to show you today I have the Antigravity alcohol stove with the primer base. This set comes with a small plastic vial to give you the milliliter amount and ounces and teaspoons, so that you know exactly how much you're using. This set also comes with a windscreen to use with it, and a neat little bag that you use to keep all your items, everything together in this neat little container. So I've thought many times about different trips where I might want to use the alcohol stove instead of the canister stove. And I guess it just goes down to preference, but I was going to show you typically how that works in relation to the isopro and the alcohol stove. Now I'd like to show you typically the timing in relation to how the alcohol stove works in boiling water. And for our first test, I'm going to look at boiling some water. I have in this 550 milliliter Tokes container, a little pot here, which, as I said, if you're into the Tokes, if you want to purchase a Tokes container, this 550 pairs well with either the Pro Pack Mountain House or one of just the normal 2.5 serving Mountain Houses, because you can put just the amount of water in these to get the consistency that you would want, and it's just the right size. And a small container like this isopro, this container, not with this pocket rocket, but this container fits perfectly in the 550. So you use some sort of small bag like I do, some sort of mesh bag like this to carry all my stuff in. It works well to carry the stove and, you know, whatever spoon I'm using. Right now, because I have been using some Mountain House just because I'm lazy and I don't use the north side sometimes, I'll have one of these Sea to Summit long spoons, because these are real convenient when you're using the Mountain House to go down in and you don't get all messy because you have the long spoon. But before that, I also have the Sea to Summit, the small spoon with the small carabiner on it. And then every once in a while, I'll just bring one of the plastic spoons, the sporks with the spoon and the fork on the side, and then this little, somewhat of a knife on the side every once in a while. So right now I'm going to try to work this alcohol stove, and as I do it, I'm going to show you what occurs with the Antigravity alcohol stove and how we can get it. Now, when I'm usually carrying the alcohol stove, so I purchased this from Antigravity. This is the 12 ounce, but they also have an 8 ounce and a 16 ounce to carry your alcohol. I think it's a good consistency of plastic, a harder plastic with a good top, and then it has the pop top so you can put the amount of alcohol you need in it. But I usually carry it in something like this, or I used to carry it in something like this, but these are so much heavier. But these are not going to fail on you. They're not going to leak on you. But I have never had one of these pop top plastic balls leak on me either. But typically I'm taking denatured alcohol for the alcohol stove, and you don't need much, but with this kit came a small ounce, milliliter, and tablespoon, so that you can put the right amount of alcohol in your stove. All right, now for the first test, we're going to try the alcohol stove and see how long it takes to boil. So let's get it started. All right, from here I'm going to take some of the denatured alcohol. Usually I would have it in this container, but then I just have it in here now. I'm going to take a little bit of this and pour it in the cup. I don't need. Oh. So then I'm looking at, so I can feel that heat coming up already. So then I'm going to take my cup, and on these stoves, I can take my windscreen and put it around here. If I got wind and just whatever I need. But then I'm going to take my cup and just put it on top. It's got a great base for the alcohol stove, and we're going to start and see how far it takes us. So we've been going for a couple of minutes here, and what I really like about the Sea to Summit, especially the long spoons, is you can use it also with that nice little spoon part. You can use it to grab the top of that toast, and you can see it's boiling up now. So, you know, maybe 3 to 4 minutes. I don't know precisely because I didn't get it exactly right, but using just a couple of teaspoons or tablespoons of denatured alcohol, I've got this little stove burning at good capacity. It's really warm, and you know, got the boiling water going, and ready to go. From there, you simply take the boiling water, and you go take out, of course, the little package out of there, and then pour it in. Then leave it in there for about 8 to 9 minutes. Let the boiling water seal it back up, and you're good to go on the Mountain House. Or if I'm using a larger pot, typically one of my larger pots that I use, I would simply you know, pour a north side in there with the boiling water, and go from there. Typically I use a pot like this, one of these little titanium pots, and put my north side in there with the boiling water, and then cover it, let it sit for a while, maybe 7 to 8 minutes, and then stir, and you're good to go. And typically when I'm using more of the north sides instead of the Mountain Houses, I'm taking this little set, which is a good set in the mornings. I can use my coffee and boil water in here for my coffee, and I don't have to clean this every time. But I like to clean it every night using this Brillo pad type material to clean it out. These things are very lightweight, but they're very good at cleaning these pots out. So typically when I'm doing north sides, I'm taking a larger pot and then 2 sets, so I can do my coffee in the morning. If I don't have it all cleaned out, then my coffee doesn't taste like some sort of north side rice or noodle set. But there you go. There's the boiling water in the Antigravity alcohol stove, and I would say we went maybe 3.5 minutes to get that boiling water, maybe 4 minutes to get that boiling water. I had a little failure on my time clock there. All right, now next we're going to go to the isopro stoves, the canister stoves. So typically I take a packed towel or some sort of little towel with me to clean stuff off in my cook set, whether it be just a rag or something else. I usually have some sort of rubber band to keep all my cook sets intact. I've got 3 different ones that I've used in different situations. This was one of the older ones I've used, although the older MSR, this pocket rocket, I don't remember what this is called, maybe it's not a pocket rocket, but I love the fact that it has an igniter on there, and it has a large base for your cook pots, but it just kind of sticks up kind of high off your canister. Sometimes the other one I use, which is I guess the next generation, which is the pocket rocket, you can see these turn and they go down like this, but it has a smaller base, but then again it's not quite as high up, and so you don't have the problems with stability as long as you have it on the ground. The one I've been using now is this little BSR Chinese stove, and I typically use it on either the smaller Snow Peak or one of the Isopro mixtures, or the larger one. The smaller one I like because it gives you a nice smaller base, and you don't have to worry about the balancing act. But typically all I do is take either a regular Bic or a small Bic lighter, and I'm good to go, just with either with one of my larger titanium pots that I use when I'm using a north side, or I'm cooking noodles or rice, or when I'm just simply going with a Mountain House meal or pre-packed meal, which are more expensive. Then, but because of the BRS stove is so small, I like to use it pairing it with one of the 550 milliliter ones, because you got to worry about sometimes you've got an uneven surface and making sure you're balanced. But with it, it's so simple, especially paired with the Mountain House, because I'm ready to go. I've turned my IsoPro on. I've got my stove going. I've got my water, and within just a minute or two, I've got my water boiled and ready to go. And again, with the Sea to Summit, it's easy to take this and pair it with it. So, looking at the time now, we'll come back in a minute, but I'm going to time this and see how the canister stove works in comparison to the alcohol stove. All right, there you are. There you have the water boiling. That boiled. Of course, it was a little warm, but that boiled in like a minute or so. You come in and show the boiling water with the canister stove very quickly, quicker than the alcohol stove, by a minute or so. So, paired with the Toke's 500 or 550 milliliter and a canister, you can get a lot quicker boiling time. But when you're using a smaller pot like that, then you usually can't get your north side sometimes in there with the water. So you have to go with a larger pot, something like this, so that you get everything all stirred and mixed properly and get the right consistency that you want. So in comparison, the canister stove went a little quicker as far as boiling the water in the Toke's. I would say probably the dispersion of heat in a larger pot may be a little different. But my final thoughts are, it really boils down to what your preferences is, how you want to carry stuff. Some people are a little nervous about carrying alcohol and scared of leakages and things like that. I don't mind it. And I know that if the temperatures get lower, I can still boil water at any degrees.
Good meal.
So that's it for today. I wanted to show you kind of how the comparison worked between the alcohol stove and the canister stoves. As it came out, the canister stove was quicker boiling water, but the alcohol stove worked just about as good.